Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 13th of October 2020. Today I'm going to do the order stuff, the trades that I'm keeping an eye on. I'm going to do it in video format because it's a little bit quicker than copying and pasting and snipping pictures. So, first of all, we have this chart here. This is the pound American dollar. And if you notice the stuff that we talk about where you kind of have to look at kind of the chaos and the clarity, you can see here that price has been moving sideways. It keeps going up, going down, a little bit higher, down, a little bit higher, down. And so it's my expectation that if we move beyond this point here, we're going to continue to move down. And each time price goes pretty far to the other side of the range. And we have a nice little area of demand here, which has been tested. So if price does respect this area here, another approach, I'm thinking we'll probably move to the other side here. So I think this is a pretty interesting area to watch. Yeah, you can just pause the film, but you can see the price point here. The price is the 135.32. So this is a weekly trade. We have a little area of supply just here. Price went down, the slingshot was pulled back, then we released, and this is the price point. Actually, the high of this candle here, the price visited historically. This is a beautiful trade. I didn't get that one. So many stuff to watch. I simply aren't able to grab all of these, but beautiful nonetheless. Then we have the American dollar, the Canadian dollar, American dollar, and this is a daily area. So we'll just go like this. I'll zoom out and then click onto the daily chart. And you can see that we have this area here, which I like. I like the price left. We moved sideways for a little while and then we left. But notice that instead of having the entry like this, which would be most obvious on this time frame, if you go down to, I think it's the hourly chart, you can see that it might be better to move it a little bit higher. And that's because here you can see, there's a lot of mess in here. As you can see, price is trading along sideways. Price managed to come up to this area once, a little bit deeper twice, and then it left. So I'm thinking that if price comes to around these highs here, we'll see a nice departure lower. That said, we do have a nice little departure from here. The slingshot's pulled back, so prices above this level here would be interesting. We also have this area here, which is a nice kind of support, becomes resistance when price returns. And the slingshot was pulled back to here, so it might be interesting to see what happens there. Additionally, we have this really nice turning point, like a V-shaped formation, where price goes up, moves sideways, we leave, slingshot, departure. Then we have the big dump, and this is initially where I had my entry just here, which is close to the highs. But you could argue maybe even on the smaller time frame, if I have data. Oh yeah, no, I'm assuming I don't have enough data to see that, but you can see pretty clearly on the hourly chart what we're dealing with there. Okay, so we have a pretty interesting area. So this is where the area was. I might even do something like that. You can see in here, matter of fact, here it is, where we had kind of like a little sideways, a little pause here, and then price left. And so we do have something kind of around this area from about here to the high of this candle and above. But on the daily, we're pretty high up in that daily area. And so you could kind of debate whether price is going to get up to where we have our entry. But what I do like is price is, rather the entry is at the high of this candle, which is the one that left, which is ultimately my motivation for putting it there. So if I move it about there, yeah, we'll see what happens. That's what we have there. Moving on to the American dollar, Japanese yen. This is a daily level. Go to the weekly chart first, just to have a gander. You can see price has kind of come up to this area a couple of times. We tried, failed. So this is just a really nice area above price. So we're really far away from price, as you can see. So this is just one of those you put in and you wait until price gets there. But looking here, you can see there's also something down here that's interesting. Price went down, we had a pin bar, slingshot was pulled back, and then we had a release. So there's probably something in here which I can't see on this time frame. We mark it off like this, then we'll hop in there and have a look. Go to the hourly chart for that one, and we'll look. Oops, this is also a nice one. Actually, this is kind of just staring at us. How we have a nice release we have the beginning of the buy zone is here. This is just a nice area of demand, so this might be an interesting area to have a look at as well. But if we focus on the area we're looking at there, going back, you can see just here we have a pretty interesting area. We had a micro area here which was tested once, twice, went to the edge, buy zone is here, went a little bit deeper. We actually almost went through that. So if we move this to the low, you notice that we're actually operating at the lower edge of this area here. So the beginning of the buy zone is actually the low of this area of demand. So looking at this, we could do something like that. I think looks pretty interesting. We go to the 4-hour chart. Yeah, I mean, that looks pretty interesting there. There's a big wick, and when you see big wicks like that, it's kind of begging for you to go a little bit deeper and have a look. But this is essentially the candle that left. The low of the candle is here. And so I'd be comfortable doing something like that. About there. Yeah, just around here, which is actually the low of the candle that departed this area here. So we can put this on. These are tiny positions. 3, 5. This is daily demand. Buy limit is 102. 015. And I'm not a big fan of buying the dollar at the moment, but we'll leave it on there at a 1-to-1, and we'll see what happens, because technically speaking, price could wriggle up to here. We had a sell zone a little bit deeper, so we could do something like that. Okay, but we'll have to wait and see. But we'll leave it, we'll leave it like this for the time being, and we'll come back to that once, and if we get filled. Okay, euro, pound. This is a daily area as well. You can see here we had this lovely departure. Tested. Finally we cut through. The slingshot was pulled back in here. We have this nice area of demand that has not been tested. We tried, we failed. We tried, we failed. So I'm thinking if price manages to come back here, we'll certainly have a pretty good likelihood of having a reaction there. Going to the Euro Aussie, it's going to do these quickly just to cover these quickly. This is a weekly area. Maybe actually this was the weekly area. Yes, so we had this one down here. Looks like I probably zoomed in. Okay, this one is interesting because this is just a nice departure, sideways price movement, and then departure. This is probably a daily area lower down. Just a really nice departure. The beginning of the sell zone is actually here. Okay, so there's plenty of room and plenty of a likelihood that price is going to turn around or at least react to that price point. If we go down here, we can see, okay, here it is. This is that daily area. That's funny, it's magged as a weekly. Anyway, it's a daily area, massive departure. If we look, I mean, price has not been back to this level. Has it? No, it hasn't. So I'm thinking that this is a very attractive price. Lots of turning around at that price point, so lower than that is a nice place to try and buy. Euro Swiss franc. What are we doing here? We have this nice area here, how price tested. We sat on it, we left, the slingshot was pulled back, and then we departed. This one here is pretty much taken out, as you can see. It's been tested quite a few times. We had a lovely reaction there, tested a few times. But I like this one here because price has not yet been back to this area that we can mark of just here. Okay, right there. Going to the pound Swiss franc. Yeah, and for this one here, I mean, for a target, I mean, it's tough. I mean, when price has traveled so far, just do a 1 to 2, 1 to 3, and then see what happens if this level works out, price might come and just dash through and hit the stop. But if we do have a bit of reaction, price wriggles down, then we can see what happens, also what the fundamentals are doing for that pair. Okay, moving on to the pound Japanese yen. This is a weekly area, so let's go to the weekly chart and have a look. Yeah, and here we have a really nice market structure failure. We had a very clear upward trend here, and the area that removed that caused market structure to fail, and to remove this area of demand as this area of supply. And so I have my entry at the high of the departure candle, which is here, so expecting price to have a bit of a bounce from that area. Moving lower, we have Aussie Kiwi. This is, let me remove these here. So this is a daily area. This is just a nice rally, departure, and a big push higher, an attempt to move to it, failure. This is the demand, this is the buy zone, just a nice area. I think we could likely see some kind of reaction. Could also see something here as well, which I like. This is almost even better, because it's just a nice kind of a nice upward, like a continuation pattern. But this one's nice. We have that nice V formation, so this is certainly a turning point. So let's give that a shot, see what happens. We have the Aussie Cad just here. This is a weekly area. This is really far away. So if we have a look, yes, this one here, price just tested the area and we left. So I'm thinking if price comes back up to that area again, then we'll maybe attract a similar kind of reaction. So I'm just going to put that in. It's got no expiry date, this position, and we'll see what happens. There's plenty of time for that to fill. I mean, this could, yeah, it could take a year before price gets that, but we'll just leave it in there and see what happens. We have the Aussie, Swiss franc, remove these. This is a daily area. So we have a look. We just have this nice departure here. Price left, slingshot was pulled back and we left. We haven't been back to that area since that, so we're going to look to buy below the slingshot, which is at the edge of this daily demand. I like this one here. This one here is interesting as well, and I like this one here. So there's a few options in this area here. If this one didn't work, we certainly have some other areas below that. This is just kind of like a lot of a kind of chaos. The chaos essentially stops here. We got some clarity from here. Do twice the size of the area. That's a pretty interesting area. Also, because we had tests at that area, price cut through. The buy zone is this dotted line here, so that could be an interesting area if this doesn't work. But I think for the time being, we'll keep our eyes on that. We'll leave it at 1-to-1 for the time being and see what happens once if that gets filled. Going to the Aussie Yen. It's a weekly one. Yeah, this is just a really nice departure, how price went down, then we just darted lower. We pull the slingshot back and then we're leaving. Okay, so this is the child, this is the parent. So this is actually a reaction to this one. We'll probably have a reaction at this point. I'm not sure how big, but so I want to position myself above that, because this is where the major turning point is located for that. Okay, because we can have support, and then support becomes resistance. So this is kind of the pivot for this price structure here. Swiss franc Japanese yen. There's a weekly area just here. Yeah, this is just one that the algo grabbed the software for us. We had just a really nice departure. The beginning of the sell zone is probably here, maybe something in here as well. Price has not been back since then. So this is a nice, fresh, untested area. So if we get a reaction at that point, that would be marvelous. Euro Kiwi. This is just a nice rally slingshot departure. So looking to buy at the low of the slingshot, which is at the edge of this area of demand. Moving on, Euro Cad. I'm doing these really quickly. Hope they're not too fast. This is a weekly level. Go to the weekly chart. Oh, and you can see it just there. So if we scroll back, oof, this is beautiful. This is just one of those rally distribution. Boom. The beginning of sell zone is here. So there's a major profit target potential on something like that. And so yeah, we'll kind of leave that one open and see how that goes. Trading in line with the swaps as well. And so let's see if we can get a nice run on that. Cad Franc, going through everything as you can see. This is a daily area. What are we doing? We're pretty low. You can see. Yeah, this is an area that's been tested once. Here we formed the child. The child was tested. Now we have an upward sloping trend line, but I think if price comes down to here, that might be quite interesting. Hopefully it does it before it gets up into this area here, because if it comes up to here first, then I'll take this off because we've already started to onboard sellers, and that would be negative for our trade, because if price manages to reach the other side of the market, then we've already onboarded a bunch of sellers, which could tip the scale in favor of supply, the selling, and move through here. So have to be a little bit careful. So if this gets filled before we get here, this is great. And obviously, I mean, the target would be around here. Should we get filled? Going on to the Kiwi Japanese Yen. This is a daily one as well. This is just a nice rally sitting on an area and then testing, and then moving lower. And I've just simply moved my entry to the high of the deepest retracement, almost. It's probably a couple of pips higher, like that, above the high, beginning of the sell zone. Price has already kind of moved into about a third of this area here, but if price manages to come here, that'd be pretty interesting. And there's not a lot of demand until down here, and so there's a pretty decent profit target for this trade, something like that. So we'll have to wait and see. This would be a really nice area here as well to buy should price get down there, and I'll certainly be looking for that once price comes down here. And also this one is one that removed the supply, so another good reason to get involved. This one here we're looking to sell up here. Looking at that now. yeah, you can say, well, has price already been here? It has quite a few times. So actually price has already been back to this area. So you might question that one there. The yellow, go grab that. I'm just going to remove that. But you could certainly play that intraday should you feel so inclined. Going to the pound Aussie. This is weekly. Okay, this is just a really nice V formation. Boom, and a super lovely departure here. Accumulation. We had divergence here. How price is going lower, but the strength of these two currencies is diverging, and not supporting this move lower. And then we had a huge cut north. So this is one of those really beautiful trades where that has tremendous profit target potential, and I'm taking the opposing side of the market, which is this area of supply. So we'll see what happens there. We have, this is the pound Canadian dollar now. This is weekly area. And this is just, it's probably clear on a smaller time frame as well, but if we go like, okay, come on, if we do something like this, okay, and on a smaller time frame, we're probably going to get something a little different, where we have something like that, and this area has been removed. And the area that removed it is actually, looking at this, oh, that doesn't look very attractive, does it? This doesn't look very nice at all. So I'd feel way more comfortable doing something like that. So we'd have to go on the 4 hour to find clarity. Yes, and you can see it nicely right there. So we'll put that on there. It's a pretty huge stop. It's good enough, I suppose. We'll move it down a little bit. Okay, we'll leave that like that. Yeah, so that looks a little bit better, just above all of this mess. This is kind of the price point that went higher. We left, slingshot back, and we've tried to visit, we failed, and so this might be an interesting spot. We could see a reaction down the road. Pound Kiwi. This is a daily one. So looking here, yeah, we just have a nice departure here. It's difficult to see on this time frame, but on the smaller time frame, you can see it pretty clearly. How you had a bit of a mess, departure, slingshot, and then run north. So that's pretty interesting. We also have this one here, which is kind of interesting. But what we do have as well, we have something here. So this is below. If you go to the hourly, you can probably see it. Here it is. right there. This is what price reacted on. Right there. Yeah, so price tested that. Oof, big race north, another race north. And so this was an interesting area, but it's gone, as you can see. So you want to be looking lower. So you want to be looking at places where we've seen serious reactions, how price gapped down on the Monday morning or Sunday night and then raced north. Had another go moving sideways, pin bars. So you want to be looking to buy at a price point no more expensive than kind of like the lows of these pins here or the lows of this one here. That could be an interesting trade there. Moving on, Kiwi Swiss franc. This is a 4-hour trade. Let's have a look. Let me remove all of these. Delete. Okay, so we just have a really nice continuation pattern here. Price rallied, moved sideways, and we left. Beginning of the buy zone is down here. So price had to go. We failed. Thinking the deeper it goes, the more buyers we're going to attract, and so this should be a pretty interesting area to buy. What I like about this one here as well is that we might even want to move our stop below this if it's within our risk parameters, because this one here is actually the origin of it. So we had price moving sideways, big shift north, accumulation, and then the departure. But we'll keep this on there, and then we'll manage the trade accordingly if that level holds. Kiwi Cad. This is the daily one. Looking at this, I mean, it doesn't look very beautiful, does it? It doesn't look beautiful at all. As a matter of fact, I'm going to remove that. I don't like that at all. And the reason I don't like it is because it's a lot of messing around. One good thing to say about that is we had a lot of testing at this area here, and then conviction. So resistance becomes support. Okay, but I don't like that too much because there's a lot of trading in that area. This one here I like. But this one is less attractive. This one is okay here, but this is just essentially because we didn't move above this high here. We could have attracted some sellers. We have a downward trend as well, and so I'm more keen to looking to sell around here should price come back up to here. So that might be a more interesting area to look at. Or here, which is nice as well. Litecoin, American dollar. This is a daily one. Yeah, this is just a nice turning point. V formation, price goes up and then leaves very quickly. We have the beginning of the sell zone, which is here. A lot of failure attempts to move higher, and so I'm thinking this is pretty interesting. We had a really nice reaction at this area here. And now price is seemingly looking to wriggle higher, but this is a pretty nice turning spot here. When we left here, we moved below this, we removed this, and there's no demand in here. Maybe lower. Okay, lower. Yeah, these cryptocurrencies, they haven't existed long. We have this one here, sideways. Price kind of visited that, so we are actually reacting at this here, this weekly demand. Okay, so price is kind of wriggling up here, and we're just looking to find the edge of the sell zone on the daily chart and have a small maybe day or two long trade from that price point. But this is just a really nice onboarding at weekly demand, which I like. We haven't quite reached this one here, so this would be a very interesting area to buy. Also because price had a huge reaction, we had a big weekly reaction there. We weren't able to kind of trade below the low here, so this is a very price sensitive price point here. 23 bucks, now less, 20, let's have a look, about 22.70, 22.89 is the price point for that. Bitcoin, yeah, I'm looking on the daily. I really like this, but I don't know if we're going to get there. I like this one a lot. We haven't gotten there, which is a pain. We also have this one here, but a lot of trading around there, and now price is just going north. There's a hedge fund called Square something or other, and they bought $50 million worth of bitcoins last week, which caused this. And on the 15-minute chart, I think it's the 30 or the 15-minute chart, this is a nice continuation pattern just here. which I like, and so I might be keen. Well, I am keen to buy at this price point here, even though I think it's too expensive for Bitcoin. It's way too high. Just looking lower. But we made a call on this down here. We made a call all the way down here a long time ago to buy there. Price went down to that and then it raced north. We've seen a tremendous run from there. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave it at that. It's 25 minutes. I shan't drag this on. But if you have any questions, post them in the forum. Thanks for watching.